Hello, everyone. I am Sophia Ring, SP Saturn the 7th, and you are watching Anime Egotists. Enjoy!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where we don't discriminate with what type of bacon we eat. It's all bacon is bacon.
Exactly, and it is delicious.
Yes, especially alive. Especially when it's cooked just right.
I don't know. I'd pick out my bacon alive and then have it cooked.
Exactly. And oh, right, we're recording this week. That's right. Anyways, my name's Alex, and honestly, throughout my growth, I should say, if you feel like shipping yourself with an anime character, I actually think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can eat your own. And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And when it comes to anime characters, there's some who are badass, there are some who are lovable, there's some who are detestable, but then there are just some that, well, you kind of feel sorry for.
Exactly. The ones that just have that sympathetic soft spot for.
Yeah. So we're gonna go over some characters in anime that we just, well, in some cases, you could argue they just need a hug. These are just characters that, in our minds, just we feel sorry for whatever reason. Even if some of these characters aren't necessarily lovable, we still want to give them a hug sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. But before you start, Richard, I want to read a comment we've gotten from.
Okay.
It's a review from Stay Gold. This is a good podcast. I quite enjoy. Good job. It seems very well run and polished. Smiley face. Well run and polished, I'm not sure I agree with, but the fact that there is somebody out there who is saying that they enjoy our content, that means a lot. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, so Richard, would you like to start us off?
Sure, I can. So my first one is Gentle Criminal from My Hero Academia.
Just based on the name, I guess I have to co-sign.
So he is a minor antagonist from the series. He shows up right after the overhaul arc and all that with where they rescue Ari, the little girl who can turn a person back in time, pretty much. But he's got this power where he can kind of make things solid or a bit bouncy, flexible. It's a really interesting power. But you kind of learn his backstory. He was a student at a hero class school and kept failing his uh, hero licensing exam, so he could never graduate fully. And then uh, one day, when he sees something is about to happen, he goes to try to help and creates his power, and the person hits it, who's falling, but the hero that's actually licensed coming in to save him crashes into the other underside of it and also gets hurt. He gets like charged for obstruction of justice and then gets kicked out of his school, kicked out of his house. His entire life pretty much falls apart because he was trying his best to do what he's been training his entire life up until this point to do. And you just feel bad. So he starts doing these like almost comedic, like he films his heists with his girlfriend. It's just this whole thing. And then his whole plan is just to make a name for himself, to make up for the fact that he hasn't been able to be a hero. And you just kind of feel that little bit of sympathy for him. He's the one who keeps trying, even though he's not succeeding.
He almost sounds like Professor Chaos when it comes to South Park, because nothing he's doing seems out and about evil. It's just like, good God, he might be my favorite My Hero character based on the 0 episodes I've seen of it.
I can see it. He comes back, I know, in the final arcs. So I'm kind of interested to see where he's at and what his relationship is in this entire endeavor.
Does he fight Endeavor?
No, I think he comes back as a hero.
I hope it works out for him because now I feel like I just want to have a drink with the guy and be like, "Hey, are you good?" And he would just say, "No, I'm not."
No, and he's really sympathetic because his girlfriend is pretty much innocent. She doesn't commit any crimes. She just films it. So I guess she would be, what's it called? An accomplice, but only minor in that regard.
It's
And so
still an accomplice regardless.
yeah, but he goes out of his way to make sure like everything she does is completely illegal. She doesn't isn't involved in his getaway, isn't involved in anything. So he makes sure that she can't be charged with anything.
I guess that's sweet.
Yeah. And so it's just, again, he's just kind of a good guy who got some bad luck and wasn't as good as he could have been with his powers and stuff. So,
Yeah, though to be fair, I would sell you guys out immediately if I got caught. So I can't that last part I can't really empathize with.
all right. So your first one?
All right. We talked about him a couple weeks ago, but I want to give him a little bit of spotlight. Bones from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
All right, let's think about this. Like, he challenges Joey to a duel, and compared to all the other people who look down on Joey, Bones isn't all that malicious, per se, compared to at least some of the other characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of the first times we see him, he scares Joey, and Joey's like, oh, okay, I admit I wasn't scared, but I wasn't scared because this whole setup. I was scared because the first thing I saw when I woke up was your face, Bones, and I'm like, what the? And then the worst part is Bandit Keith and his friends laugh like, "Hey Bones, he's got a good point. Your face is pretty terrifying." And I'm just like, I get the feeling if they just kept roasting Bones, Bandit Keith and Joey would have been friends. But even then, we almost never see him win a duel on screen. I feel bad for him in that sense. Bandit Keith abandons him and the others. And the next time we see him is against Bakura, and then Bakura sends them to the Shadow Realm. And then we don't really see Bones anymore after that.
No, I don't. They don't even show up as background characters again, I don't think, that I can
No.
remember.
It's just and even especially when he says stuff like when he said stuff like I don't even really like horrifying stuff that will traumatize people. I just like fun little haunted stuff. So it gets to the point where you kind of I don't know, I always felt kind of bad for him.
Yeah, because isn't that line from the Duel Links is that he
Yeah.
likes the haunted stuff that's yeah. So you
Yeah.
get a little bit of extra there.
Yeah, and I guess the one reason why he's so low on the list is because he does come back in Duel Links, and even though he's scaring people by accident, he's scaring people by accident, and people are still pushing him away to the point where I'm like, can somebody please be his friend, please? And there is a happy ending, like the girl he scares a girl and she drops the card, and he gives the card back, a shining friendship, and she's like, actually, if it's okay, can you hold on to that? That just to symbolize that he actually is like he's actually finding better ways of communicating with people because it's kind of implied he's a little socially awkward, but I don't he's so low on the list because he does seem to be happier in Duel Links, which definitely helps.
Okay, yeah, I can co-sign. I think Bones is an interesting one and definitely sympathetic because of how he's treated by his friends.
Yeah, I love Joey, but that line was that that line was harsh. That was truly harsh.
Yeah. All right. So my next one.
Go ahead.
All right. So I put uh Megumi from Food Wars. So
Yep.
yeah, she's pretty much been brought in as a um to to the big school. I forgot what it's called off the top of my head, but it's pretty much she's bullied because she's like the lowest ranked of all the students pretty much when they're transitioning from middle to high school. And her cooking is considered subpar for the school. It's still good, but it's subpar for the school. She ends up uh like getting bullied by even like instructors bully her because that's part of like the um training arc that they go through early on in the series. They have to make some sort of dish that has like layers of vegetables. I forgot what it's called as well, but the instructor who's supposed to do it specifically placed poor ingredients on the table, and she masterfully changes them, and then she gets bullied by him because it's not the dish that he instructed her to make. To the point
Now
where
I
he's
hate
going
this
to,
guy.
yeah. Um, but yeah, she does get confidence as she gets more experience. But even like Soma, sometimes like he uses her as a test subject with his like peanut butter octopus and stuff. So yeah,
I don't remember what the clip specifically was, but I did see an image around of Soma I don't know a whole lot about Soma, but I'd like to think for the most part he's a nice guy. But the one thing I saw, whatever he said to Megumi was not nice, and I was kind of like, dude, can you try to be nice to her? She seems lovely.
I sure I know what the would know it if I saw it, but yeah, just a whole bunch of issues. All she's doing this is so that she can successfully take over uh, her small village's best restaurant where they serve up like, I mean, she can cut a fit like a large tuna fish hanging from its tail perfectly, and and she's just trying to learn the rest to be able to masterfully run this and make it a spot for people to come. And she has so much heart and spirit to go into this series, and but she gets so much bully, so you just feel bad for her because she really wants to succeed.
Could we be friends with her?
I think so.
All right. Yeah, even with the very little I know of Food Wars, I always feel like I've said before, if I ever finally give it a chance, I think I'm going to like her. So if she's getting picked on, if she's struggling, that's just going to make me want to root for her even more.
Yeah, it's just all the little nice moments that she gets in. I love that she gets more confidence and gets succeeds to the point where she's one of the top 10 students in the school at the end of the series.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So one of your next ones?
Okay. Shiho Suzui from Persona 5.
Okay.
I almost don't even want to fully go into what happens to this girl, but thanks to Kamoshida, she feel like to Kamoshida's advances, that's the nicest way I can say it. She tries to take her own life, and An is horrified by it. And while it is the motivation for An to join the Phantom Thieves and stand up for what she believes in, you just feel bad for her because she was the one of the first students to be openly nice to Joker and saying, "Hey, I know what everybody's saying about you, but please don't let it bother you." She encourages An to get stronger. She seems fine around Ryuji, but nothing about her seems to the point where she deserves what's happening to her. And by the time everything starts getting better, she moves away, which is understandable, but it just gets to the point where, like, I know a lot of people when they said they were playing the game, and when she attempted to take her own life, that's the point where people were like, okay, now I'm locked in. Now we have to stop Kamoshida. That once again the nice way, because when I first saw that scene, I'm like, okay, how do we put him in the ground? That's not the point of the game. I don't care. I don't care. Put him in the ground.
Yeah, I remember. I seem to remember when you first played Persona 5, that I think you put the controller down and just had to take a minute.
Yeah, I remember because at one point you were asking, so what about the bad endings? I'm like, well, first of all, we're in April. We're nowhere near where the bad endings happen. Then we saw that scene together. I'm like, you still want to go for the bad ending, but you still, yeah, I did shame you a little bit, but it's one of those times where I think I got a pass for it.
Yeah, yeah, you did. Just
And
that
and all
was odd.
in all seriousness, though, she just goes through so much, and she's such a sweet, loving person to the point where you're kind of like, I don't know too many people who say they don't like her. Like the fandom kind of seems split on whether she should have had her own confidant story or she should have been a phantom thief. But everybody seems united in the fact like yeah, you cannot hate this girl. You feel bad for her and what she goes through.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've only played through parts of this game, but I know enough of her story to know this is, yeah, it's a lot to go through. There's a lot of emotion, and for someone who, as you said, isn't even part of like the confidants or the major side characters after the first part, it sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she seems happier. I don't necessarily know if I need to see more of her in other games or more anime if they ever come out, but I don't know. I'm always going to be thinking I'm always if I was in the gang, I'd be like, "Yo, on, what's up with Chiho?" She's like, "That's the 10th time you've asked today." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I need a better answer than what you've been giving me."
Yeah, 'cause I think Gon would just kind of go. Okay, no, we're this is all you're getting.
Yeah, and then knowing one of us, we'd be like, so on between the three of us, what's up with you and Ryuji?
Yeah. Have you asked him out yet?
It's just you would just I feel like you would ask me, are they in love? And I'd say worse, they're both stupid.
Yeah, seems legit.
Yeah. But Shiho, if you hate her, I talk to somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So my next one,
Please.
I put Haku from Naruto on my list.
Good answer.
So he is from I forgot what his clan was called, but they're
The Yuki clan.
the Yuki clan, um, who are known for their ice jutsus, and they pretty much get wiped out by the hidden mist. Kind of. Yeah, they're just heavily discriminated against for their powerful jutsus. Um, Haku watched his mother get killed and all that. Um, he latched on to pretty much the one person who even showed him even the slightest bit of caring, which was Zabuza, right? Yeah. And then for some reason, I thought I said the wrong name. Uh, they travel together. They have do this coup against the third Mitsukage and fail and go as kind of rogue ninjas to try to rebuild and come out again to save the Hidden Mist Village. But just everything in that first part, him sacrificing himself for uh, Zabuza, despite having pretty much given up on life at that point, the point where Zabuza breaks down knowing that Haku was a good person and he's not really. He's pretty much used Haku this entire time. You just feel for Haku because it's like the one person who cared about him didn't realize how much they actually cared until the end.
Especially because as Haku has already passed, Zabuza was willing to slice right through him. So it's like, wow, even after you're gone, I still feel sorry. Hey, and it's especially sad because, like, from what I could tell, Haku never really wanted to be the type of person to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get revenge for the Yuki clan," or "I'm gonna stand up and show everybody that the Yuki clan can." No, he just kind of wanted to live his life, and he never really got the chance to do that, and that's what makes it all the more heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's very sad because there's just so much that Haku wanted to not wanted, but could have been, but the circumstances led him to becoming pretty much just a tool for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, he never found true love because, especially that line when Naruto said, "What? He's a god, man. He's even prettier than Sakura." I'm like, you could have said that. I'm sure that would have brightened his day.
Yeah,
You know, there's this in the first Ultimate Ninja game. Haku has his own story and Zabuza has his own story, and they both kind of play off each other. Haku's story is just helping Zabuza manage his coup, and at the end of the story, they succeed. But at the end of Zabuza's story, he says that him and Haku are finished, and Haku's like, "Wait, what do you mean? Did I not? Am I not good enough as a weapon?" But Zabuza says, no, you're not a weapon. You're free to live as your own person because who you are. And it's touching and it's nice until you realize that they also beat Naruto and the others, which implies they all might be dead. Better late than never, I guess.
yeah. Be a really interesting story if the first part was called Naruto and the next part was called Haku or just Haku and Zabuza.
I'd still watch it.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, but I can co-sign, especially with how they've made similar to Shiho with the little time they were in the series. These Haku was so impactful, but at the same time, you also you can't help but feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah. Uh, so your next one?
All right, Taizo Hasegawa from Gintama.
Okay.
All right, so unlike the other samurai or aliens or robots or just whatever sort of asinine stuff happens in Gintama, Hasegawa is just kind of a regular guy. He used to be a business official, like a government official, until he lost his job, and now he's kind of out on the streets. He and his wife are separated. It's kind of implied that she's moved on. She's trying to move on in some cases, but almost all the time when he's around, he's trying to get money. He's trying to gain a better grip on his life, and it's implied that sometimes that he's suicidal at times, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see. But whenever he gets what he wants, he either gets screwed out of it, which always sucks, or he's willing to sacrifice it for somebody else in need. He, it makes him so much more tragic in the sense of like it feels like he'll never get what he wants, but in a sense with Gintoki and the others around, they have their bickering, but Gintoki has told him 100 times, I am not going to give you the rope to hang yourself, but if I give you the rope to pull you out of hell, I'll do that as many times as it takes. So while he's not necessarily happy with how his life turned out, he seems like he's in a better headspace than when stuff first started going down. But the series still picks on him a good bit, which kind of makes you feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I can co-sign. I don't know remember this character coming up very often when you would watch it, but I seem to remember you at least mentioning him before. That
Yeah.
he's
And
been
the worst part is everybody just sort of calls him an old man. Everybody just sort of calls him an old man, a worthless old man, which I kind of feel sorry for because and that's his nickname is at this point, worthless old man. And it's just you feel sorry for the guy. Also, he has one of the greatest anime sound like background songs of all time. It's that good.
oh interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I just Hasagawa, I felt you feel sorry for the guy. You know he's a good guy, which makes it all the more heartbreaking. And he also has one of the greatest pickup lines of all time when he says, "I wouldn't mind falling to the pits of despair with you."
All righty. Yeah, it's an interesting pickup line right there.
Yeah. But that's it. Hasagawa just you feel for the guy,
All right. So my next one.
please.
All right. So my next one is Ivy from The Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up Trash.
Okay.
I've mentioned this character before, but pretty much she's born into a world where when you turn 5, you get assigned your job for the rest of your life,
Oh,
and
jeez,
you
that
get
sounds horrible.
well, it gets worse. You get star levels, which tells you how good you're going to be. One is kind of below average to average. Two is like the high side of average to above average, and three is like you're godly. Your powers are better than anybody's. She gets hers, which is Tamer, which is a unique power, but she gets 0 stars, which people in her little village out of the woods believes marks her as a curse on her village. Her entire family, who seems at one point to have been loving to her, turns on her. They throw her out. This witch who used to predict like when the harvest would happen uh, takes her in and treats her with kindness, only for the village leader to poison the witch so that she can, and she dies, and then blames it on Ivy. And so Ivy has to go on the run from the village, and she's running pretty much town to town, barely surviving at first. Eventually learns that she can control like one little slime, and that her ability, while not able to fully control, allows her to like team up with some monsters. So she's got like her little like weakest slime and this giant like panther monster that follows around and helps protect her. But just that origin story, you feel so bad because everyone she cared about, everyone she thought cared about her, turns on her the moment she's deemed a curse because of their kind of backwater way of thinking.
That is horrible. Good God. I remember when you first brought up this character, and I just remember thinking, are extra characters, villagers, townspeople, are any of them ever good in anime? I feel like a good majority of them are just portrayed as awful people.
Yeah, they're, I mean, luckily she meets people that she learns to trust and are nice, but the ones that are in her village just they have that old timey mindset of if they have if one villager's cursed, pretty much the village is cursed.
Even though it's not really her fault, she was just born that way.
Yeah. Uh yeah, we're yeah, it's just it's a sad moment, especially when you watch like she was playing with her siblings in one moment, the next moment they're like her siblings who are like 7 and 10 turn on her. So like even the kids follow the parents' example and completely turn on her. So it's just that sad moment of completely losing everybody.
That's horrible. Yeah, but I can co-sign. I feel sorry for this girl. Please get her some therapy.
Yes, and she deserves some so much because she's such a nice character, and I mean she becomes integral like with her little weak slime that can detect like truth and lies. It's interesting.
That's weird. But I don't know. I don't know. This show I've heard about it a couple of times. Maybe I'd be willing to give it a chance at some point.
It's an interesting one because it's an isekai where there's like some mental stuff that involved where because she's a reincarnation, but she doesn't have like full access to the memories. It's like having a voice in the back of your head that was the reincarnated voice.
Hmm. I feel
It's
like Beyond Two Souls tried doing that, except the voice wasn't that audible.
yeah.
But I can co-sign. I feel sorry for her.
All right. Your next one?
Konan from Naruto.
Okay.
This woman lost everything. Everything. Even when she was raised with Yahiko and Nagato. Oh, Jiraiya did his best to make sure they were protected, to make sure they were safe. And once they were, he kind of just disappeared on her. Like she didn't see him again until the last time she saw him. Not to mention, in which when she loses Yahiko in one of the most traumatizing parts of the whole Naruto series, and when Nagato becomes pain, she has to carry out all of these dangerous, horrifying missions to the point where, and she even tries claiming, "I'm doing this for peace," but it's kind of a case of, look, I understand. I feel bad for you that you're stuck doing this because she seems like a lovely person, probably one of the friendlier members of the Akatsuki. And then when it's she kind of becomes allied with the Leaf, she dies. She dies in a really one of the most frustrating parts of Naruto. Her death by Toby kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was just a moment where she's just trying to protect her place with her two best friends that have long since passed. And uh, they're going completely, and Toby goes out of his way to destroy her and everything she was trying to rebuild in their legacy.
Yeah, and the worst part, and the really sucky thing is, the Hidden Rain Village is still something that she's like, I want to rebuild the Hidden Rain Village. I want the Hidden Rain Village to be a prosperous place. And so far, from what I've heard in Boruto, it's fallen into even worse disarray after her passing. So I'm like, oh, so no one's gonna take over. No one's gonna. This is all. So you could feel like her life in some cases was objectively wasted, which makes it all the worse.
Yeah, yeah. It shows kind of the pains that war can cause by showing the loss of relationships and the loss of uh entire like countries and cultures by uh being absorbed or destroyed by the wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like in some cases, even the fans don't really understand Conan's character, an incredibly, like, in all honesty, a very gentle, loving person who got wrapped up in it. And people say, oh, I feel sorry for Nagato. I feel sorry for Yahiko. And to an extent, I feel sorry for both. But I don't know, with Conan's nature and just the personality she had and everything she went through, even after her best friends had passed, you can't, you just want to give the woman a hug.
Yep, exactly. All right. So honorable mentions time.
Let's do it.
All right. So my first honorable mention is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer.
Okay.
So in the first episode, he loses like most of his family. He's lost his dad to illness a while back. His When he loses his mom, if I remember correctly, it's four other siblings are killed, and his sister that he's kind of the closest with, and Nezuko, gets turned into a demon and tries to eat him. That's all in the first like episode. He goes on to pretty much just have to work on rebuilding his life, finding the cure for Nezuko, and it's just kind of sad that part of like him having to go from a simple charcoal maker to like warrior to save the world. It's just a big transformation that he has to go through, and with all the loss he's experienced, yeah, I just feel bad for him because
And
he's the
for
kind of soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I was even going to mention that because from everything I've heard, even after all this loss, he still remains kind to other people, which is really impressive. But yeah, if the first episode is showcasing just how miserable and sucky your life is going to be, maybe I can't imagine too many people are like, "Oh, he deserves it." Which, if you say that, there might be something wrong with you.
Yeah, and I mean they show other like some of the Hashira and some of the other major characters going through these their own trials and stuff, and they just don't have a good like. Yes, they've been through their own hells, but sometimes they just become mean and bitter because they feel like it. They feel like that they deserve more. So it's just interesting to see how someone who's been through another similar situation can change completely differently than someone else.
Yeah. Also, he has to deal with Zenitsu trying to flirt with his sister. I'd feel sorry for him. That's another reason to feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but even with the little I know about Demon Slayer, I can't act like I could hate on Tanjiro. I feel like I would just be like, hey, just do your best, man. Just I'm proud of you. That's all I got.
Yeah, he becomes so strong so fast that that's why he's an honorable mention. Is that oh, yes, I still feel bad that he lost his family and all that, but I feel like he got to a point where he could actually do something about that fairly quickly by comparison to a lot of other like stories.
Yeah, I can
So,
understand that. I can co-sign with Tanjiro.
all right. So your first honorable mention?
All right. Satone Shichimiya from Love Chunibyo.
Okay.
All right, I've talked about this girl a good amount, so she's an honorable mention, but just a quick refresher. She's in love with the main character Yuta back when they were in middle school and they acted Chunibyo together. But then he moves away, and when he's trying to have a normal life and ends up with Rika, Shichimiya kind of tries her best to make sure they're happy, but at the same time, a tiny part of her is like, dang, I kind of wish I had confessed to him first. Like, and the weird thing is, she's not malicious about it in the slightest. She's very kind. Sometimes she's a little pushy, but at the same time, Yuta's not saying, hey, stop. So in some cases, it's kind of on him too. But she just does her best to be kind, even when you can tell she is clearly in pain. One of the most heartbreaking scenes is when she finally breaks down, is in tears in the rain, running off because she just doesn't know how, like because she bottles up her emotions so much to the point where it just starts coming out. Hell, and the sucky thing about it is that nobody really wants to help her with it. Her Yuta and Rika's friends are kind of like, you need to get over it, which is, she does, but at the same time, there's a better way than just saying, get over your problems. And from what I can tell, at her own school, she doesn't seem to have that many friends. Nobody ever really seems to talk to her. And even when she finally does get over her problem, the gang never really says, "Oh, that's our friend Shichimiya." Like she's part of the group, but kind of just it feels like they just put her in rather than establishing, "Hey, we're friends with her and we care about her." Like for someone who's supposed to be the love rival, I can't help but just be like, that just want to give this girl a hug.
Okay. Yeah, she seems Yeah, I can see why you have sympathy for her. She is never fully, especially if she's not fully integrated into a group. She's more like kept on the outside and just kind of having to look in on everybody else since they develop their relationships. I can see this being a very sad moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I felt like a lot of people wanted to hate her in the beginning. I'm like, she's not malicious in the slightest. She has her own problems. She's trying to deal with them. If I was in the show, I'd be like, hey, you're sitting with us. You're sitting with us. You're my friend. I'm your friend now. Let's hang out.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but just Shichimi, just you can't help but feel a little bit sorry for her, even if you don't want her to be with Yuta. But based on how Yuta acts from beginning to end, you could argue she kind of dodged the bullet.
Okay. Okay, so I still haven't seen Love Chunibyo and other delusions, right?
Very good.
Okay. So, alrighty. So my next honorable mention,
Go ahead.
I put Wendy Marvel from Fairy Tale. So
Go ahead.
she is one of the Dragon Slayers who was brought from 700 years in the past to the present in the fairy tale world. Um, at the same time, she loses pretty much the person she views as her mother, and because they uh, hide themselves away in the Dragon Slayer spirits to prevent what they call from the I think it's the dragon seed from growing. Pretty much, if you use Dragon Slayer magic, if you overuse it, you become a dragon, and you gain like a lot of power, but kind of go insane. That's where like the big bad Agnologia comes from. Urza's mom was the same way, so they kind of sacrifice themselves to protect them. But so she loses her mother. The guild that takes her in is made up of one member who's the last member of the Keat Shelter tribe, and he uses his magic to create pretty much this illusion of there being a whole bunch of people and all this. But Wendy's, after a while, becomes the only living member of the guild because even he passed away, and now there's no one left, pretty much.
Oh my goodness.
So her like found family is gone. She gets throughout the first part of her involvement when she finally joins Fairy Tale, she gets beat up or kidnapped a whole lot. The only reason she's an honorable mention is that she becomes much more powerful as the series goes on and gains combat experience instead of just her healing magics.
Yeah, I can co-sign. She does seem like she kind of goes through a lot. I feel I don't know. I feel like whenever I hear people talk about Wendy, it's always what she's been through in a sense, and I part of me is like, ah, that's this poor girl.
Yeah, she's a dragon slayer, but especially early on, she's considered like the weakest of them. She's considered just all she's good is for support and all that. She gains her strength. Um, sure, it's during the demon arc. I can't remember what it's actually called, but she kind of unlocks her special like dragon force and becomes an actual combat like really good at that. She's had moments up to there, but she gets really strong at this moment.
Yeah. Unfortunately, to kind of ruin this, the reason I was laughing because I saw on social media today when I woke up, there's a screenshot of Wendy looking at another girl. I'm not going to pretend like I know who the girl is, and let's just say she's staring a bit, and people were saying, "Does Wendy have a thing about her?" I'm trying to put this in the best way possible. Does Wendy get jealous of other girls being more mature than her?
I it happens, yes.
That you don't. You're beautiful inside and out. Just it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, but I again, most of it, my focus though, is just on her backstory of how kind of tragic it is by comparison to all the other, like a lot of the other Dragon Slayers that came from the past. Um, became super or found like their guild or their place much faster than the others did.
Yeah. But from the looks of it, at least she had a happy ending.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she's still living with Fairy Tale, and haven't watched a 100 Year Quest yet, so I don't know if she's very happy there anymore.
I've heard that part of the story is good, but I who knows?
Yeah. All right. Your next honorable mention?
All right. Alex Benedetto from Gangsta.
Okay.
This poor woman, this poor woman. Okay, so besides having one of the best, besides having the de facto best first name ever, Alex kind of her life's not fantastic. Hey, she's been living on the streets and been taken advantage by several guys. She's been hit, she's been bullied, it shows. She has trauma written all over her. To even when to even when the main characters meet her, like she's still not fully. There's a lot going on with her, and there are times where she'll even break down, and kind of have a panic attack over what's been going on. There's a part where I want to say about halfway through the series where she kind of forces herself onto one of the characters, and he kind of has to slap her out of it and be like, "Hey, come on, this isn't you. That was the old you who would take the abuse. This is the new you has to change. The new you has to be better." But with the town they're living in, with all the crime and murder happening, she can't really defend herself. So you just feel sorry for her because she's trying to rebuild her life in some sense. But every now and then she feels like she's about to fall off the wagon, and it's kind of horrifying in some cases.
Yeah. Sounds like, I mean, it sounds like she went through hell pretty much in her earlier years, in this, at least what's depicted in her backstory, and to have to overcome that to not become what she was attacked by pretty much. Yeah, it sounds awful.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, I want to say the first episode I saw oh, I'm like, okay, she seems cool. And then I saw like fan art and official art, and she was smiling in a lot of it. I'm like, this doesn't seem like her at all. Why is she smiling so much in this stuff? And then I watched more of the show. I'm like, nope, nope, you guys are allowed to make her smile. It's okay. I'm sorry, Alex, that was wrong. Like, smile as much as you want. It's okay.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah, another character that's just been through way too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and what makes it all the sadder, and I like the two main characters. I like Warwick and I like Nicholas, but at the same time, they're all everybody in the show is so traumatized that look, sure, in some cases they're helping each other, but at the same time, it's kind of like, but everybody in the show needs a therapist so badly. So, but Alex in particular, you just with everything she's been through and how sometimes she slips and falls, like it gets uncomfortable, but in a compelling way. Like you want her to be happy. You want her to succeed and get out of the slump she's been in.
Yeah, I'll co-sign. Gangsta is one of those that I've been wanting to possibly give a shot. I just need to find time to watch it.
Yeah. I'll still argue it has one of the greatest anime ending themes of all time. That song is beautiful.
Maybe that'll be a video we'll release soon.
Sure.
All right. So my final honorable mention.
Go right ahead.
So I put Gojo from My Dress Up Darling. I've talked about him a few times before. Yeah, pretty much his parents, if I remember correctly, are either traveling for business or passed away when he was very young. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I don't remember the very first start. But he lives with his grandfather, who paints the very fancy Japanese dolls, and he had friends that when he was in elementary school who found out that he likes doing this art form as well, and he gets made fun of for it and uh, pretty much ridiculed and kind of becomes an outcast. He's still kind, but he's becomes very socially awkward, and just you feel bad for him that he pretty much went from a normal kid who had his interests to someone who hides everything because and just kind of is the normal one. And then as the story goes on, he starts opening up, but you still hear those insecurities, those fears of being judged for liking to doing something, especially when it's not necessarily like conformative to the normal gender role, like dressmaking for cosplay. He gets nervous that someone will make fun of him for liking sewing or doing makeup and all that. And it's just a sad moment that you get throughout there, having to watch him try to recover from the emotional abuse that he faced from his like other kids.
Yeah, it is nice to know in some cases, though, he did find somebody who says, "Hey, I genuinely appreciate it. This is cool. Can you help me out?" So in some case, I can understand him being an honorable mention because it's like some of the characters on this list, it worked out in the end. But I would definitely sympathize with the guy, especially with how he was treated during his childhood.
Yeah, it's just yeah, again, all about his recovery and then finding love and acceptance and all that. So that's why I put him on my list. But again, he gets over some of it fairly quickly in the story. Again, it's been a long time period. It's been 10 like years between that flashback and when the series takes place. So you kind of get the understanding of he's had time to process some of it.
Yeah. St yeah, I can co-sign though. I haven't seen the show, but he does seem likable enough that I would root for him.
Yeah, I think you would like it if you give it a shot.
I've seen a lot of romance anime, a lot of good, a lot bad, and then there are some that are just like I don't know how to feel about this one.
All right. So your last honorable mention?
Oh boy. Yeah, this is kind of a hear me out sort of honorable mention. Like I'll understand to anybody who says I can't co-sign. I don't agree with this. I get it, but I want just at least hear out my point beforehand.
Okay.
Misa Amane, Death Note.
Okay.
All right, look, I am not defending any of the stuff Misa has done with her Death Note. I am not defending her siding with Light. I'm not defending her as a human being. But this is clearly a sick person. Early on in her life, both of her parents are killed, and that's why she kind of wants the Death Note. That's why she sides with Light because her philosophy is I want to support and worship the person who took I want to support and worship the person who killed the person who took my parents from me. She's clearly a lonely, disturbed person. And throughout the whole series, part of the reason why I couldn't really find that I couldn't find myself to hate her is because, well, she's always getting picked on. And I don't mean like people are putting her in trash cans or stealing her lunch. I don't mean stuff like that. I mean the police are detaining her. They tie her up. They will torture her on end for hours. Light openly tells her that he feels nothing around her and then manipulates her. Even L, who I do love, has gotten to the point where he doesn't show that much kindness towards Misa. She's a twisted person. She's done some bad stuff. But for me, it's not necessarily I hate you. It's more like I've said before. It's kind of a I just want to slap you and then just bring you in and be like, "Hey, you need help. I want you to get that help because right now you're clear. It's clearly not working for you."
Yeah, I can co-sign. I know enough about her to understand that she's got her own issues, but then uh, she gets manipulated and captured by pretty much people who are trying to get after someone ahead of her, pretty much
Yeah.
in the way of going after light and all that.
Yeah, and it bothers me because I feel like so many people are like, "Oh my God, she's so adorable," and the other half of the fan base is like, no, she's annoying and she's a bad person." I'm like, I kind of feel like she was meant to be a little bit of both. And then people ask me, "Well, why do you like Misa? Why do you relate to Misa?" I'm like, "Because she's dumb, just like me. I'm not nearly as smart as Light and Elle. I have no idea what the hell's going on in the show sometimes." And they're like, "Yeah, I kind of see it. I'm like Misa too," and it works out.
Yeah. And she, as you said, she just, if she'd gotten maybe the help she needed dealing with her parents, then maybe she doesn't join light and gets her own just like partial like she ends up better off than ends in the story, from my understanding.
Yeah. And she does all this fawning over Light, and Light seems way more interested in L, whether that's platonic or romantic, I'll leave up to the fanfic writers. But just I can't fully bring myself to hate Misa. Look, once again, not excusing some of the stuff she did, not excusing her behavior, but a tiny part of me will always feel a little bit sorry for her.
I'll co-sign. I agree with everything.
All right, who's your last most sympathetic character that you just want to hug?
So for me, I put Kobe from One Piece.
Okay.
So his entire life's goal was to join the Marines. Um, he gets captured and put on. Uh, I can picture her name, but it's keeps coming up as Valvita in my mind. Alvita and her crew, where he's pretty much treated as next to worthless as a and made to be a deckhand for this pirate crew. Um, Treated as like the scum of the world. Um, Even Luffy makes fun of how weak he is at this point in the series, and he just really wants to uh like believe in the Marines and all that, and he becomes this great hero as the next part of the Marineford arc, especially because you realize that how sensitive he actually is. He wants to believe in what the Marines are supposed to stand for, the protection of the citizens of the world, and yet that's not what the Marines are in this world. They protect the celestial dragons and the leaders of the world, not the everyday people that Toby wants to protect. So you see him start to his kind of journey to find a place where he can make the Marines that. And that's when he joins Sword, which is that's a secret organization behind the scenes of the Marines that focuses on saving people. It's just there's such nice people and nice moments, but you see that his dream isn't exactly what he exactly pictured.
Yeah, especially considering the very first episodes, he's taken as a hostage and has a gun point put to his head. Or if you look at the 4 Kids version, he has I don't know. I don't know what that was. As a kid, I always thought, is that like is that did he like hollow out a telephone or something? Is he just gonna smack him upside the head with it? What is that?
Isn't that the fist thing? I thought it was like a the boxing glove thing.
I thought that's no. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying as a kid, I thought it was like a weird old school telephone. I'm like, what the? At least with a gun, you get the pick. Never mind. It's never changed for kids, except yeah. But I can co-sign in all seriousness. Is he just see, especially for me, because what like when Luffy he leaves and they both make a promise to each other, you still kind of feel for the guy in a sense because it's like because with all the stuff he's been through, Luffy gave him inspiration, and now Luffy's leaving. Not for a bad reason, but just you can kind of tell it could leave a mark on somebody.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that it's towards the end of the series we get it to where Kobe becomes that um like Garp to Luffy's Gold Roger, where he's becomes the only one who can give Luffy like a challenge when it comes to the Marines. And so I'm hoping Kobe gets a lot stronger to maybe it's revealed that his name is Kobe D something and he has all the abilities of those that have of the will of D.
Is Smoker still doing stuff?
Yes. The last time I remember seeing him though, he was just kind of running his like ragtag Marine group behind the scenes.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. I really liked him.
Yeah. I mean, he still pops up every so often. He's popped up in a couple of things, and um, then there's been some other little things that have happened.
Yeah, but it is nice to know that even after all this time, Kobe he's doing better. I mean, the guy who put a gun to his head, that one of the first times we see him, is openly embracing him now at times. So in a sense, it worked out.
Yeah, and you even get to see like him interact with like Vivi from the Alabasta arc where he saves her and her ship from being attacked by pirates. So he's going after like the pirates that are the legit bad guy pirates. So that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I can go sign it worked out for him, but you can still sympathize with the guy at times.
Exactly. So what's your final one?
All right, I kind of feel like I have a layup with this one. Future Trunks from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, yeah, I can co-sign on to that.
He's lost just about everything. Hey, when he was a baby, he Goku was gone, and then the android showed up and killed almost everyone he cared about. Oh, to the point where when he finally meets Gohan, a stable like big brother figure, like Gohan knocks him out because he's not strong enough to take on the androids. And the next time he sees Gohan, he's gone. He unlocks Super Saiyan and tries to. And from at this point, we know when you unlock Super Saiyan, you're stronger. Hunger. Super Saiyan Goku beat Frieza. Super Saiyan Vegeta beat Android 19. Super Saiyan Trunks just gets walloped by androids 18 and 17 and 18. He travels back to the past and he warns everybody, hey, well, warns Goku, hey, the androids are coming. This is serious stuff. Please prepare for it. And when you look at the Cell saga, no one really takes the threat of Cell or the androids all that seriously. He goes back in time thinking to himself, oh, I can fix everything, but one multiverse theory exists, which nobody bothers to tell him until it's too late. And when he's like, "Oh, hey guys, let's stop the androids. Let's jump Cell." Oh, no one takes him seriously in that regard. They all prepare in some cases, but nobody. Trunks is kind of an on-site character. He sees Frieza, kills Frieza. He finally goes back and kills the androids. But everybody else is like, "No, let's let the androids suffer. Let's let Cell suffer a bit more. No, let's go up against the androids and test our power against them." As somebody going through all of that trauma, going into that, and he still remains as nice as he is, he's a better person than me.
Yeah, there's just so much that he goes through with his whole like abilities and powers that like always seem to be one step behind the next person up, especially in the Dragon Ball Z arcs, because he always seems to be just that little bit too weak, or he develops the power that isn't quite what he needs it to be.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's just kind of you feel bad for him because he's never quite the one that's going to come out on top.
Yeah. And the thing that really, now that I'm older, makes me like legitimately kind of angry. He threw out all of this, all of the stuff he's been through. He goes back to the past and has one of the worst fathers you could ever have because Vegeta is horrible in this. Look, I love Vegeta. He's grown so much. But there's no real reason for Vegeta to treat him like this. He sees he can immediately go Super Saiyan and is like, I don't care. Here, he learns his that he's Trunks' dad. He doesn't care. Here, like there's like all of this to meet somebody because he's curious. What was dad like? Like, wonder what dad's gonna be like. Only to learn that Vegeta kind of sucks.
Yeah, and because if I remember correctly, even in the um when you we get that his backstory, the um Bulma pretty much makes it sound like he was a pretty good guy sometimes. So it's interesting that Trunks doesn't have like the right vision when he meets his father.
Yeah. And then Super happens and everything is arguably even worse. And he does beat Zamasu and Goku Black, but then it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna stay behind and rebuild the future. I'm like, how the hell are you going to do that? There's like 20 people left.
And didn't like that universe get completely destroyed by Zenitsu? So or Zenosama, sorry.
I don't know, but
That
but in a sense, that's what kind of makes Trunks brilliant because no matter how much crap he goes through, his philosophy is like a lot of other people would be like, well, I'm not going to do anything, but all this stuff has happened to me, so I'm going to treat people horribly. But Trunks' philosophy is all this stuff happened to me, so I'm going to get stronger so it doesn't happen to anyone else. It's very similar to Tanjiro in the sense of he's even after everything, he's still kind. Trust me, he will destroy something if he has to, but he's still a nice guy. Even Chi-Chi points out that she thinks he's a polite, nice guy boy, and you just everything you go through, like they love picking on future Trunks for some reason.
And it's interesting when you compare him to his younger, like main timeline counterpart, because it's very much a like with Vegeta, he becomes a much more like Vegeta. He has that overconfidence, that um, view of himself as being superior to everybody else. And but when he was just raised by um, Bulma, and there's no real connection to anybody else, he doesn't. He ends up much more of a soft-spoken. I'm just here. I'm doing my best to help everybody else. So it's kind of interesting how much his personality changes.
Yeah, especially when they tell him when they and it's weird because they tell him in Super, hey, if you want to stay with us in our timeline, you can, which makes me think, maybe he should have done that. The Tournament of Power would have been great for him.
Yeah, it really would have, and it would have been interesting to see like that Super Saiyan Rage form, I guess, again, if it could get expanded on, because we've gotten like other forms now that have been a little bit more expanded on, but that one just had its moment and it's gone.
Yeah, and that's the thing that pisses me off. That makes me feel, even with all the horrible stuff that happens to him in the future, I feel bad for him for that. But coming to this timeline and realizing, wow, everybody in this universe is an idiot. And the weird thing is, they kind of just treat it like, oh, don't worry, Trunks, we got like no, like I'm surprised he hasn't crashed out more from the idea of, oh, so you decided to give Cell a sense of being okay. Hey, oh, Dad, oh, hey, Dad, bum ass. You decided, no, let me let Cell reach his perfect form. It's fine. Hey, Krillin, you destroyed the remote for what reason? Like, there's so many times where I'm like, if he had turned evil at this point, I wouldn't have blamed him. But he decided not to because, well, he's a better person than me.
Exactly. I mean, everybody in Dragon Ball Z, especially these arcs, has some sort of moment where they're just not the best.
Yeah. At some point, he should have just said, you know what, forget this. Hey, what's your name? Hercule, can I live with you, please? I'll work. Because you're the only person in this arc who's doing their job.
And he can go, I'll throw the fights for you. He could be the boo before the boo. He could like win the tournament of power to face off against Mr. Satan, and finally and then throw the final fight so that Mr. Satan can be the hero of the world still.
Yeah. But just future Trunks, like I don't understand how he's gone through everything he's gone through. So I feel bad in a sense, but it is all the more inspiring that he's willing to keep fighting no matter what. So I always sympathize with the guy.
Alrighty, we ready to wrap up?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so ladies, gentlemen, Piccolos. Yeah, because Piccolo is technically genderless. People kind of forget about that. Who are some of those sympathetic characters in anime for you guys? Even if they're villainous, who are just some characters who you're like, I can't help but feel sorry for you. You just want to give them a hug. You want to sit with them at the lunch table. That kind of thing.
And do any of the ones that are not on our list do you not have any sympathy for? I don't think that would be possible, but you just never know. You may, but let us know.
To be fair, I said Misa. So if somebody says I disagree, I'm fine with that. But if you say Shiho from Persona 5, then we might have to come find you and respectfully sit you down.
Exactly.
Yeah. But be sure to let us know. We'll like, comment, subscribe, be good to each other, drink some water while you're at it, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.